Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kaylee McMahon. I'm the Research and Instruction Librarian for the Arts, and I would like to welcome you to our final library lecture for the fall 2013 semester. We will have more on the docket for spring, and hope you will be looking out for that in the next couple weeks. Our lecture today is, I think, a first for our series in that you all will be participating in creating a work of art as we sit here and as Leigh Ann instructs us. So I think that will be an interesting addition to our lecture series. Leigh Ann Hallberg is a senior lecturer in the art department and has been at Wake Forest since 1999. She teaches both studio art and courses on the history of the avant-garde, which I'm delighted to help her with when I have the opportunity. Her artwork has been displayed in galleries as close as down the hill as Scales and as far away as Italy and Germany. I recommend that you visit her website, lahallberg.com, to view examples of her intriguing installations. So without further ado, introduce Leigh Ann Hallberg.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kaylee, for your introduction. And thank you to Carolyn McCollum, Craig Fansler, and the ZSR Library for your help in making this possible. And thank you all for coming today. The Drawing Center in New York City initiated this program for its viewing program members. I am one of their viewing program members, which they entitled On the Table. The viewing program is the center's curated artist registry, and the Drawing Center itself is the only fine arts institution in the U.S. to focus solely on the exhibition of drawings, both historical and contemporary. It was established in 1977 to provide opportunities for emerging and underrecognized artists to demonstrate the significance and diversity of drawings throughout history and to stimulate public dialogue on issues of art and culture. I have interpreted On the Table's initiative rather broadly, and will talk about my work, but also how I came to appreciate contour and blind contour line drawings as a means of understanding the world and how they have created a philosophy of art, drawing, and exploration for me. Then you all get to give it a whirl. Contour and blind contour line drawings are often considered elementary exercises, and they are used in introductory drawing classes. I would call them elemental, and one way of making sense of the world. Let me explain a little about them. Let's start with the concept of line. Line is a human construction. It's a way of making sense of the world. Line. I found this particularly funny because apparently it's an advertisement for a cell phone company. Does anybody know? Is that right? Anyway, you know, so they line, telephone line, yes. Here are some lines, street lines, that somebody's put some interesting graffiti on. Art is trash with a... The thin line of Earth's atmosphere and the setting sun are featured in this image, photographed by the crew of the International Space Station while Space Shuttle Atlantis on the STS-129 mission was docked with the station. I'm going to screw this up, but Yamanote Line in Japan. The second line is a tradition in brass band parades in New Orleans, Louisiana. The main line, or first line, is the main section of the parade. Those who follow the band just to enjoy the music are called the second line. Walk the line. But lines do not exist in nature. Now, at this point, you may be sitting there saying, "Lady, there are lots of lines in nature." But you're saying, "Look at the branch, that's a line." You're saying, "Look at the fence, that's a line." You're saying, "Look at these gizmos that hold up the tree branch. Those are all lines." There's a mowing line there. But in fact, those are not lines. They are a human construction. They are what we interpret as line when one object abuts another object, and that intersection we mark as a line. No, wait a minute, for real, Leigh Ann, the clothesline is a line. And I would say, but no, the clothesline has thickness. And what we're interpreting as a line is our perception of where the sky is interrupted by the edge of the wire, the other edge of the wire, and then we see sky again. So it marks the edge of where one thing comes up against the edge of another, and our interpretation of that interaction is a line. It can mark the edge of difference, a place of change, lightness to darkness, or plane to plane, or any other kind of difference. So here in these Renaissance drawings, the artist has done a planar analysis, seeking to find where planes change and so where corresponding light and darkness shift. This is another of the same artist's drawings. Lines can also mark changes in elevation, as in this topo map. And these concentric or parallel lines define the form of this shape that I found on the on the internet that some fabulous computer put together. This is a piece by Maya Lin, who you probably know from her Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Maya Lin's also an architect, an artist, and does lots of other things too. This is her interpretation of the Caspian Sea. And I think of this as an inverted topo map. The sculpture is a replica of the space that the water would normally inhabit, if that makes sense. And again, one of those fabulous computer 3D modeling drawings where all of these lines are demarcating changes in attitude, position. Oops, wrong way. There we go. There are outlines, as in this drawing, but there are always, of course, interior edges as well to mark. The funny thing about these two images is that this would make a whole lot more sense, or a whole lot less sense, if I covered up that one little mark. When it goes from exterior to interior, it sets up a spatial break, and you understand that the wrist falls behind the palm of the hand. So this, in fact, isn't just an outline, but begins to talk about edges in the interior. The other drawing is a blind contour drawing, so the artist was not looking at the page, only looking at the object, and you see found all kinds of interior shifts or changes that happened within the confines of that exterior or outline. Okay, so maybe I better explain a little bit about what a blind contour drawing is. This is a drawing from one of my students in my figure drawing class. It's a drawing of one of her cohorts in the class. A blind contour drawing coordinates hand and eye. The artist/observer finds a place on the subject to begin and a corresponding place on the page. Eye and hand move very slowly and at a steady pace over the contours, the edges of the subject. Once eye and hand begin, they work together for the duration of the drawing. The hand is not lifted. The eye looks nowhere but over the subject, carefully recording everything that is seen. It can happen that the artist can get stuck at the end of something. In this case, one retraces back to an unrecorded area. The pencil is not to leave the page for the entire course of the drawing. The only way to make a mistake is to look at the drawing. The best drawings come from paying careful, close attention to the subject and coordinating hand and eye. This kind of drawing requires a focused concentration. I got more gizmos than I know what to do with here, but let me see if I can. Ooh. Okay. For instance, Kelly here, I'm just going to guess, maybe finished her work on the mouth and then goes, uh-oh, where do I go now? So she just kind of made her way out. Or maybe up in the eye, she got to the end of the lid, but then just ended up retracing to get back and record other areas that she hadn't recorded yet. Everybody loves these drawings, most especially me, because if you follow the instructions, you will make a good drawing. And how can one criticize a drawing where you're not even allowed to look at the paper? Perfect. Language is often a barrier to making a good drawing. Language needs to be removed from the equation. The artist should not look and then translate what is seen to a word. For instance, if you look at a subject, any subject, this microphone is in my face, all right, I'm looking at the microphone. You see this thing, what the brain wants to do is go, oh, microphone, and then go over to the page and then draw sort of the sign or symbol that's in your head for microphone without paying much attention to what's actually there. Contour line drawings should cut out the middleman being language. It's just eye and hand coordinated. I think what makes these drawings great is that they inherently align intention, materials, methodology, and line quality to create a searching and what I feel is authentic drawing. Number one, the intention is to understand a form through the notation of edges of difference. Number two, the materials are elemental, paper and pencil, or paper and a Sharpie in our case. Sharpie even better, because it's direct and you can't correct a Sharpie mistake. Once the Sharpie's down, end of story. Perfect. Methodology removes languages, focuses attention. Eye and hand work slowly, directly in unison. The line quality is more direct response to seeing. It is sure but searching. This methodology is easily read, in arty terms read, and opens possibilities for creating content. Jennifer Gentry uses a modified blind contour methodology to critique celebrity culture in the next couple of drawings I'm going to show you. I say modified blind contour because she picked up. You're not supposed to pick up. She picked up. But she did this intentionally, and I think it ends up adding to the meaning of the drawing. The lines are searching for people who don't quite solidify. The frills, the coiffure, and eyelashes are there, but not any real person. The lines are beautiful, but a bit nervous. The hands, almost invisible. These people don't really do anything. The space between Joan and Kelly is also interesting, a beautiful form that flows between the two without ever engaging either sitter. So for those of you who aren't familiar with negative space, it's the shape or the space between the two. And you can see, Oh, this, by the way, I just love this, is Joan Rivers with her little knees sticking out. And this is Kelly, what's her face? What's her face? Yeah, her. You can kind of tell, can't you? I think that these drawings are just fantastic. The line quality is beautiful. The idea, sort of metaphorically, of using the methodology of drawing blind when trying to capture these sort of celebrity crazies, I think is just brilliant. Yay. There she is. Oh, well, before we go there, I have to try and do a little technology craziness. Pretty please. There we go. Okay. Yes. Okay, as a background to my work, I have a great interest in looking, in seeing, and perception. I derive great pleasure from looking and feel that I am wired for looking. I enjoy the natural world and enjoy thinking about how it's put together, how it works, how beautifully form follows function, what there is that we can see, what there is that we can't see. Cosmologic ideas of dark energy and dark matter are fascinating. The fact the universe is primarily comprised of dark energy and dark matter and yet visibly imperceptible amazes me and makes my brain whir. The space between things, objects, people, I find as interesting and worthy of exploration as the objects themselves. Even if the eye is restricted in what it sees can be a metaphor for what it cannot. Even if seeing can no longer be believing, it is at least a method of understanding structures that may extend like fractals into other dimensions. A corollary interest is transparency, translucency, and semi-permeable membranes. The idea of these interstitial spaces where somehow structures decide what comes in and what stays out astonishes me. Prior to the cereal bags, I worked on a series of drawings of cellular forms. In another series, the subject was nets and lace, which you see rotating through here. All semi-permeable membranes, their structures dictating what is allowed to pass through and what is constrained. This culling is of great interest to me. As Paul Bright described this interest in an essay about my sculptural work, access is permitted or denied by some seemingly arbitrary electrochemical signal, some digital or protein match or mismatch, paperwork in order, a bribe paid, a royal seal. Love that. I don't know if those have scrolled through or not, but we'll assume that they have. A friend of mine and a mentor of mine, James Rosen, suggested I make a practice of drawing every day. I asked my drawing students at the time to take up this practice, and so I decided I had better do it myself as well. I figured the only time that this would actually work was at breakfast. Too tired at the end of the day, the middle of the day, things all merge together. Okay, breakfast. After a few days of drawing flowers from a vase on the table, my coffee cup, spoon, fork, I lighted on the empty, whacked cereal bag liner. Aha! Translucency, transparency, and interstitial spaces right there on my counter. I found and find the bags endlessly interesting. Because the bag was so complex, I took it to my studio to create this little stage area and set up a little lighting area in order to attempt to control at least some of the variables. Trying to understand the bag became a sort of a quest. This same friend and mentor, James Rosen, just wrote today, "Every edge is a vortex for the eye." Isn't that great? Every edge is a vortex for the eye. Boom. There's a long history of artists repeating a theme or imagery in their work. artists like to explore. Morandi, for instance, drew, painted, and etched the same bottles, vases, and containers for his entire career, looking at the forms, the relationship between the forms, but also the spaces between the forms. With each piece, the viewer and artist gain a new understanding. Oh, I did that, but I didn't get it all. From current slide. There. Okay, so there's Mr. Morandi. And Mr. Morandi, this is one of the recurring containers, which is a picture, and you can see in this quick drawing that a cup or some other container has obscured part of it, and so his perception of the picture is changed, and we see it anew. Another, a painting. It's so interesting because this little, whatever the heck it is, recurs and recurs and recurs. We actually went to Morandi's studio where they have all of this stuff, and there was this little thing, and I still don't know what the heck it was, Paul. You'd think it was like a tea ball or something, but it may have just been an ornament. Anyway, it recurs and recurs and recurs. And then I like flowers, so, and he apparently liked flowers too. So check this, goes through these fiori and the same containers over and over. And these are very modestly scaled pieces. Most of these Morandi paintings are just little nice things. Alberto Giacometti. His work searches for a person's form, location, and meaning in space. In 1948, Sartre wrote of Giacometti's paintings, quote, "But how can a figure be fixed on canvas without being delimited by something? What is to keep it from bursting in the void like a fish brought up out of the abyssal depths? It is precisely the line representing an equilibrium between interior and exterior, which stops it before it vanishes. The line encircles the form, adopted by the object under the pressure of outside forces. It is a symbol of inertia and passivity," end quote. I think that's the last. These are little tiny sculptures, and there are stories that most of these started out as very large plaster blocks that he worked and worked and worked to try and capture the figure in space, and they often turned to dust before he felt they were complete. A few of them, and many of them are like this big, were actually cast in bronze, and I've seen a few of them. Diego his brother made a base for a group of, I believe, 4 of them, which makes them feel a little more in the world because they are just on the precipice of leaving the world. All right, back to the old website for some cereal bags. Come, my little friend. There. So, I found early on that I like to use a square format so as to avoid privileging or indicating either horizontal landscape or vertical portrait. So the square for me is a neutral place of exploration. I've been working on a number of drawing series that use a 4x4 format, 4 inches by 4 inches, little bitties. Sufficiently small to be an intimate experience, sufficiently large enough for me to work. As I begin a drawing, I tape off the square, my territory, and the confines of my attempt to see. Some of the works are made subtractively by laying down graphite and removing from the field with an eraser. I liken this to standing in a closet, lights off, door closed, and as you open the door and allow the light in, it falls on objects and defines their forms. And so I, with my eraser, am like the light that defines the form. I am the light. No. Okay. No, not really, no. So some of these crazy cereal bag drawings are line, some indexical prints, some value, some ink. Small shifts are made in an attempt to better record an understanding that I have at that particular time. Many of the drawings are on mylar, and mylar is a beautiful translucent material often valued for its dimensional stability. Get it? Yeah. I used to work in an art supply store, and we worked a lot with architects who used mylar all the time, and that's how I came to know it. It's a beautiful material. In one state, it's completely clear, and then you can purchase it matte on one side or matte on two sides, and it gives it this beautiful, frosted, soft, translucent quality that artists generally go nutso over. I'm going to rip through these images in a second, but I want to read what my dear friend, Professor Jay Curley, beautifully wrote about the cereal bags. And after I do, as I say, I'll go through them, but I've also brought a number of them. There are 80 in total, and that's just too darn many to haul around. So we just brought some of them, which I hope at the end you will come and look at a little bit, and before that we'll do our drawing session. But anyway, Jay Curley wrote, each is a cereal bag as well as consciously a graphic translation of that bag into an image. These are exercises in perception, a daily dose of defamiliarizing a plastic bag. These serialized, S-E-R-I-A-L-I-Z-E-D, or serialized, C-E-R-E-A-L-I-Z-E-D, images call attention to the wondrous processes of representation. How is it that a collection of diverse marks signify anything at all? Is any single drawing in this exhibition, or in the little website, any more a cereal bag than any other? And let me reiterate the strangeness of Hallberg's diverse renditions. The cereal bag is a banal ready-made, but in some of these agile drawings, it is also transformed into something completely foreign, a hollow skeleton of sparse contours, a robust collection of voluminous strokes, an uncannily organic orifice worthy of Ava Hess. Gore. Presented in an overwhelming wave of visual information, with all these shifts in strategy and medium on display on a single wall, these works show the diversity and contingency of daily perception. If the morning ritual of drawing can defamiliarize a known object, then we need to think about the importance of close looking for an already impossibly complex visual world. Considering that a cereal bag can become such a conundrum, what would happen if we applied this level of rigor all day, every day? We might better understand the visual contingency and chaos of every life, but we might also lose our grasp on reality and ability to comprehend signs and their socially agreed upon meaning. In these drawings, Hallberg reminds us of this dialectical nature of a sustained, heightened perception. We might desire this level of visual acuity and the insights it would foster, but in a world of visual bombardment, such a practice would also paralyze us as active subjects. So I will, if I can, run through these just quickly so you can maybe see a little bit of how they morphed over time. Pretty much the same cereal bag. Oh, shoot. Where's Turkey? There we go. you know, obviously these are not all blind, and so like Jen, I took liberties with this idea of careful looking, but this one was, for the most part, blind. Some of these I got kind of crazy, and you know, trying to figure out the planes, I ended up trying to add layers of gesso in this case to try and understand spatial relationships. And again, you know, all of the materials are sort of meant to convey this kind of elemental base sort of level of understanding. There's like not a lot of fancy wing bang woohoo going on here. Straight. So gesso, which is the, you know, the layer you put at the bottom of the canvas, you know, you cover the canvas with gesso. And most of these are just pencil, although I got into colored pencil for a while. The gold thing bit me. Yeah, like see here, I don't know. Elemental again, you know, gold. I know, they go on and on. Oh, and that was like, this was a piece of Conte, like a sanguine Conte, the idea of blood, that somehow I was going to get into its circulatory system. These are the indexical ones. A friend of mine, Leo, who was teaching at Winston-Salem State, has this wonderful art practice where he walks all the time and finds stuff on the ground and then prints those on postcards and sends them to friends. And I had gotten several postcards and thought how fabulous that was, and decided maybe the better way to understand the bag was by taking it and printing it. Or making layers of graphite, one over the other, again in this sort of sculptural way. I'm still working on them. So, all right, folks. So now at this point, I'd like to maybe walk you through doing a blind contour drawing. Now, this is not scary because, right, you can't possibly be responsible for a drawing that you're not even allowed to look at, right? And the only way you can screw up is by looking at the paper. You just want to do eyes and hands that are going to move together. Now you might say, man, what the heck are we drawing here? Oh gosh, well you could do that. You could do that if you can also do your hand. If you're right-handed, if you put your left on the board, you can look down, and that's kind of a nice way of organizing things. Or I'll stand still for 2 minutes. Yeah, we're going to go 2 minutes. Now here's the deal. Remember, slow, methodical. The eye doesn't go ahead. Eye and hand move at the same slow rate together. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? Don't look at the paper. That will screw it up, for sure. What else, Brian? What am I forgetting?
That's it.
Okay, that's it. You want to find a place to start. So whatever you're drawing, whatever you, I have to do this because I have time. Whatever you're drawing, find a place to start on the thing and a corresponding place on your pad. And we're going to go 2 minutes. Don't look. Okay. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
So you just freeze like that for 2 minutes?
I guess.
Okay, great.
Don't pick up your pen. Don't look at the paper. That's 1 minute. And remember, edges are interior and exterior. You could follow anything. Seconds left. Enjoying. Can I frame it? Awesome. Yeah, it's exchange. La 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 la. Brian, you have so much practice. Awesome. You know, beautiful. I love it. All right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, everybody. I love the glasses. That's the best. Honestly. It's excellent. That's excellent. So that's all I have to say, but I hope that you will exchange drawings. Let everybody look at everybody else's drawings. Sign me what you got. You did your hand. Awesomeness. Okay, and I hope also that you will come up and look at some of my drawings in the reel.